H Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and we got some more Kamigawa Neon Dynasty cards to talk about. Some real doozies here. In fact, I actually had requests from viewers to talk about this card in particular here. We're starting out with Hinata Dawn Crowned. 1, a blue, a red, and a white. Kirin Spirit. It's a 4/4, has flying and trample. Spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each target. Spells your opponents cast cost 1 more to cast for each target. Wow. So obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of buzz about this one. I'll just say right now, this will be the most popular commander from the set, without question. Unless there's something huge that's going to come out in the next couple days here. Even then, I don't know how this could get beaten for popularity. And I'm not saying that because it's powerful necessarily. I'm saying that because it's versatile. It is powerful and versatile, right? Just like an Atraxa or a Muldrotha. Powerful abilities, also versatile. You can go a lot of different directions with this, right? So, for example, I have a Fateful Absence, right? One of my new favorite removal spells. Spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each target. So if I target just one thing, all right, I target my opponent's creature, my Fateful Absence now only costs 1 white. That's pretty fantastic, right? And then if your opponent wants to remove your commander, it's going to cost them 1 more. And then if you look at a spell like a Comet Storm, for example, right? Choose any target, then choose another target for each time the spell was kicked. Comet Storm deals X damage to each of them. So this has multi-kicker 1. So every time you kick it, you can target something else. And every time you target something else, it's going to be reduced by 1. So obviously, the more targets you get, the better the spells are going to be. And, you know, and it doesn't have to just be removal spells. It can be auras, for example. Again, right? Here's the versatility of this, right? Spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each target. So an aura spell is going to target. You could even just do a Voltron strategy with this commander. It already has flying and trample. And just do auras. All your auras are going to target when they're on the stack, and it's going to cost 1 less. So you could do that as well, right? There's a lot of ways to go with this. And obviously the second ability there, your opponent's costing 1 more, is just always good, right? I mean, I suppose you could get into a situation where your opponent is trying to kill another opponent's thing. Spells your opponent's cast cost 1 more to cast for each target. So it actually could hinder you a little bit there, but I think that's going to be very minor. Also, I think it's likely you're going to be the arch enemy when this guy's in play. I have a feeling. I had a patron already ask me to do a patron deck for this, and I'm going to, but I will warn them and warn everybody else that this is going to be probably the one from the set where people are going to be like, oh, it's that commander. Everyone, you know, keep your removal spells ready, right? It'll be the most popular commander from the set, without a doubt. Conversely, the least popular commander from the set, I think, is going to be Kotose the Silent Spider. 3, a blue, and a black human ninja, 4/4. When Kotose the Silent Spider enters the battlefield, exile target card in an opponent's graveyard other than a basic land card. Search that player's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name as that card and exile them. Then that player shuffles. For as long as you control Kotose, you may play one of the exiled cards, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. So it has all that stuff that people like doing on a commander. The only problem is the same name thing doesn't work. And I really like that they did this. There actually is a couple other cards that I've seen from the set that are doing the same name thing. And of course, the same name thing doesn't work good in Commander. In particular, this one, there is literal no way to make this work for you. I had a patron on my Discord say, oh, this would be great for a spy kit. And then, of course, he quickly realized that that's not the case, right? This is a card in a graveyard. As far as I know, and I have a pretty good catalog of cards, and you know, and I'm pretty sure there is not a single way in the game of Magic to change the name of a card in a graveyard, particularly your opponent's graveyard. So there's no way to do this, right? This is an ability that works only in a standard or you know, modern format. because they do have same names. It's not going to work in Commander. That part of it is not going to work in Commander, and I like that. I actually do. You know, I talked about this in my Is Commander Getting Better video at the end of the year, and how they really started engineering every single set to be great with Commander, and they just didn't really care so much about Standard anymore. I think it's affected Standard quite a bit. All they cared about was, let's make these, especially the legendary creatures, let's make them really, really good for Commander. And clearly they didn't do that here, and I'm glad. You know, they went in that direction. 2018, 2019, they really went in that direction. And then I think they started coming back 2020, 2021. They started coming back the other way, where they're like, okay, this is getting out of hand. We're printing these ridiculous busted commanders in every set. Let's pull it back. And I like that they very clearly made a commander that this ability doesn't work that good, right? This ability doesn't work that good in Commander, and I'm happy with that. I like it. I'm totally fine with that. It still does stuff. It's not like the worst commander ever. I mean, you can exile stuff from your opponent's graveyard. That's not bad. If you're doing a blinking strategy, you can do it every turn. You can also do, I mean, you're going to get one card maximum, right? That's all you're going to get. The other upside is you do get to look at your opponent's hand and library. So there also is that. If anyone out there's thinking of brewing this deck, you get to search that player's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name. So you get to look at your opponent's hand. That's an advantage for sure. You get to look through their library. Definitely that's an advantage for sure. And also, if you don't, I mean, you get to take a card out of the graveyard that you can then cast at a later time, right? For as long as you control Kotose, you may play one of the exiled. So as soon as you lose your commander, that's not great. Because now the blink strategy doesn't work, because as soon as you blink Kotose, it becomes a new creature. So you're going to lose the cards that you had before. That's rough. The other thing you could do, though, that I was thinking, which would be neat in this deck, is the Eldrazi. My opponent has cards in exile cards. You know, like a Wasteland Strangler, where I'm putting my opponent's cards in exile, and then I can use those Eldrazi effects that care about my opponents having cards in exile. So that's another thing you could do here. I think it's interesting. And I like that they didn't purposely make it good in Commander. And again, Nashi, Moon Sage's Scion, 1 a black and a black rat ninja, has ninjutsu, 3 and a black, is a 3/2. And when Nashi, Moon Sage's Scion deals combat damage to a player, exile top card of that player's library until end of turn. You may play one of those cards. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. And why this is similar, obviously, to the last one is because it doesn't have Commander ninjutsu. It just has regular ninjutsu, which of course doesn't work great in Commander. Still works, right? You can put it in your hand with a command beacon or something, or something like, you can bounce it back to your hand maybe. A little harder to do in mono black, but I'll tell you the one thing that they're going heavy on the black let's play our opponent's cards stuff. I'm getting a little tired of that. We got way too much of that. Let's dial it back with the, I'm going to play stuff off the top of my opponent's library, like the Praetor's Grasp thing. Like, basically, there's so many Praetor's Grasp type effects now in Commander. I would like if they dialed it back. It's starting to get a little old. Pay life equal to its mana value thing I like that. It makes it so that if you're tapped out, you can still do it, no problem. Also, exile the top card of each player's library. You only get to play 1, but now you're going to exile 3. It is also a play, so that means you can take lands here, right? You may play one of those cards. So if you play a land, it's going to cost you no life at all. So that's pretty good. It's still going to count for your land drop, though, right? You're not going to be able to play an extra land here. But yeah, very interesting for sure. I mean, you don't need to use the ninjutsu at all, to be quite frank, right? It's more expensive than what it costs 4, which is kind of weird. You don't see that very often. Then your commander actually only costs 3, and then the ninjutsu costs 4. So you really don't need to use it at all, I don't think. Zera-Sen, the Trickster, is another one that I was like, man, I can't believe how not popular that guy is. Only 181 decks on EDH Rec. I think he's great. And a lot of people said, oh, well, that, rogue jitsu, whatever you want to call it, ability that he has doesn't really work great, right? You can't do it from the command zone. So I have a feeling that is going to affect the popularity here of Nashi as well, where people won't like the fact that you can't ninjutsu from the command zone. But I would just say ignore that. You could use it. You could put a command beacon, Netherborn Altar in here, but you could also just ignore it and just use your commander, cast it for 3, and then maybe make it, harder to block or something like that. Next up, we got Isshin, 2 heavens as 1, red, white, and a black human samurai 3/4. If a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Pretty basic. Definitely, again, a lot of ways you can go with this. I think this is going to be a popular one. They just did Wolfgar, a little while ago in Forgotten Realms, which is very similar to this. So it's kind of surprising they're doing one that's so similar again. It is a samurai. You could do, Mardu has a lot of really great samurais. So, I remember almost a year ago now, someone was asking for a samurai tribal commander. This seems like a pretty good samurai tribal commander, although the ability there, I don't think fits with a lot of samurais because it won't work with the Bushido or anything like that. So I don't know. It is an option. I actually had done Jirina Kudro as a impromptu Mardu Samurai's commander because most samurai are Mardu colors. So I like the Ryu one. There's a really good triggered ability. So the Ryu is going to go in this for sure. If a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers it. So you're going to get another combat, right? You're going to get that. So you're going to get 3 combats here. That's pretty good. And again, you can just attack with your commander or with your Ryu, either one or any of the other warriors or samurais you have in the deck. Obviously, there's a lot of directions you can go here as well. I think this is going to be a popular one in this set for sure, no question. A little more interesting though is Shigeki Jukai Visionary, 1 and a green snake druid. Sorry, it's a legendary enchantment creature snake druid. There's so many enchantment creatures in this set. I'll just say there are upsides to having a enchantment creature as your commander. There's also downsides. Obviously, the main one being it's just easier to get your commander off the table. I don't love it. Your opponent just casts a Bane of Progress, and they have no intention of killing your commander. They just want to get all the artifacts and enchantments off the table, and oops, just so happens your commander's an enchantment as well. However, the upside here, though, is that your commander has a sort of defensible ability that can avoid those situations, right? Pay 1 and a green and tap. Return Shigeki Jukai Visionary to owner's hand. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield. Tap, put the rest into your graveyard. That ability, obviously returning it to your hand, is going to save you from removal, which is great. And also, there's no play it as a sorcery here or anything like that, so you can do it on your opponent's end step, which I probably would be doing all the time with this commander. Also, though, has Channel. XX green, discard Shigeki, return X target non-legendary cards from your graveyard to your hand. This is just very interesting commander. I like this one a lot. There's just so much unique, interesting stuff going on here. Certainly we don't have any commander, anything like this in the format already. There are a few channel commanders, for those who don't know, from the original Kamigawa. We do have a few. They're pretty bad. In order to use channel, you have to get your commander into your hand, then discard it, right? So here, though, obviously, we have, this would be a situation where I think that Wizards of the Coast is throwing the commander community a little bit of a bone here, where it's like, okay, we're going to give you a way to easily get your commander into your hand. But I like everything that's going on here, right? Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped, and then you put the rest in your graveyard. So this is mono green. You're doing a little bit of mono green graveyard stuff where, I'm trying to think. There's not a lot of green stuff. Genesis, right, would be one off the top of my head. Green stuff that you want in your graveyard. Black's, typically a lot better at that kind of stuff, obviously. But then you can discard your commander and return X non-legendary cards from your graveyard to your hand. So as long as it's not legendary, it's anything, right? This isn't permanence or anything. No, it's just return X non-legendary cards. So all that stuff you dumped, you can now get back. Your commander goes to the graveyard, and if you got that Genesis, that's just an odd one, including this deck, right? Because then you can just get your commander right back on your upkeep. You can also use regrowth effects. You can also use, reclaim, all that good stuff, right? You can just reclaim it and draw it on the next turn. It's pretty easy in green to be getting stuff out of graveyards already. So really great commander. I'm really curious to see what direction people are going to go with this. There's a lot of really interesting things going on here. And finally today we got Kura, the Boundless Sky, 3 green, Dragon Spirit 4/4. So this is the green version of the cycle, the last one that we haven't seen yet. And it's pretty darn good. When it dies, choose 1, search your library for up to 3 land cards. reveal them, and put them into your hand. So, of course, that's not basic land, that's any land. So, pretty good. I mean, you could, if you want to build this deck, do like a, Dark Depths combo, Thespian Stage, just go, it'd be really easy to just go get both of those with your commander if you want to. Also, create an XX green spirit creature token where X is the number of lands you control. Both of these abilities are fantastic, but you have to have your commander die. But again, just like I discussed with the last commander, it is really easy to get stuff out of graveyards in green, right? We got, of course, one of my favorite cards of all time, Eternal Witness, and you got all the regrowth effects and all that. I'll just say, for me, I was super pumped when I found this because it is an absolute perfect fit in my Name is One deck. Like, this card was just made for that because it is a green spirit. So I was looking for green and black spirits already in this set. Obviously, this is a green spirit, so I can go fetch it with my commander or get it out of the graveyard with my commander. And that ability, search your library for 3 land cards and put them in your hand, is also perfect in my deck because I need my command beacon, I need Urborg, I need coffers. There's a lot of really important lands in the deck, so absolutely going in there without question. As a commander, though, it's pretty good. Like I said, the dice things with the blue one and the red one, you got to be really careful because they don't really have hardly any ways at all to get stuff out of graveyards. The white one, a little bit less so, and I really like the white one. I might build that deck for myself. The white has a few, not a lot, but it's got a few. Black obviously has got a ton, and green has a ton. Green doesn't really have those reanimate effects so much. It just has the put it back in your hand effects or put it back on top of your library, which is just as good, right? That works just fine too. So you shouldn't have a problem building this deck and letting your commander go to the graveyard and then easily getting it back, right? So I think this is going to be a decently popular one for sure. But that is it. That is a bunch more commanders. Pretty fantastic so far, this set, I think. A lot of great commanders. I would say that you got Hinata, which is, I think, very clearly made for commander players without question. Like I said, I think it's going to be the most popular one from the set. But other than that, I like that they restrain themselves. I like that they, we have a few commanders in here where it clearly they weren't thinking about commander players that much. And I like that. I like that a lot. I like that they are, because we don't need more of that, right? We got enough really great commanders in the set. So if they want to make some commanders that are the mechanic doesn't work so well in the format, I'm fine with that. We could always use more underwhelming commanders. I'm totally okay with that. But that is it for today, and thanks for tuning in.